Since you asked for more info regarding the CZN drama in Korea, so if you guys don't know, I'm playing a lot of Chaos Zero Nightmare. I'm really enjoying it. I'm kind of figuring out like what I want to do for guides, but I posted this like a day ago. We were talking about this Reddit thread. This Reddit thread said that there was a developer note apologizing for Owen, and essentially there's a lot of drama in the Korean version of Chaos Zero Nightmare, basically calling for Owen's death. Most people wrote it off as like a lot of sort of Korean incel culture. I'm half Korean, by the way. I'm not like super involved, but I do know that there is like a lot of how would I say it? It's not like all Koreans are incels, but there's like a pretty big Korean incel culture. Like a lot of people will write it off as like Owen being a male talking to all these women. But I read this very interesting YouTube comment. In my experience, Owen doesn't really cuck the player much, even though that's what the Korean fan base is basically accusing Owen of. He doesn't cuck the player much. He doesn't steal the women. He doesn't like go into like, I don't know, wins their heart or whatever, from my experience looking at the story. But apparently, Korean players found out that developers of this game bullied and gaslighted original story writer, made him quit from development. This drama was confirmed by company developer community Blind and story writers co-worker illustrators X. I guess that's their Twitter. Not just that, developers of this game altered original story in a horrible way. Entire story was changed with hatred toward the original story writer. They purposely changed the story to make player hate Owen. They purposely changed the story to make Renoa and girl characters hate the player. A lot of the criticism that the Korean players have of the story is that the girl characters are kind of not valuing the main character that much, and it seems like they're valuing Owen more. They even changed the catchphrase of game to delete the trace of original story writer. The Korean players found this out by digging alpha builds, screenshots, all new articles, and PV trailers and screenshots. Now the Korean player community feel pity for Owen, because Owen was a character designed to be like innocent, not innocent child, but you know, just like innocent. And Renoa was protagonist true understander who sacrificed her life with her love in the original story, which is what I thought. I think in the story for CZN, Renoa does like a huge, great act of sacrifice for the player, and like is very heavily implied to have a lot of feelings for the player, I thought. Yeah, it was interesting to see like such a disparity between like the fan bases and like their reception of the story. And it seems like the reason why is because the story is different in the Korean version of the game, I guess, right? So let's take a look. It says, since you asked for more info, right? This was in response to the comment. I was like, oh yeah, this is wild. I would love to see if anyone has screenshots to put it on the Discord. And someone delivered. So since you asked for more info regarding the CZN drama in Korea, frankly, I think the comment that you replied to exaggerates stuff a bit, especially regarding the part about how Smilegate purposefully changed the story to make players hate Owen, or purposefully changed the story to make Renoa and girl characters hate the player. That person had strong emotions, and that is how they see this problem. Not everyone's view. But the workplace bullying is real, and this did not go unchecked by the CEO, but he in fact took part in it. And it started a massive wave of refunds for CZN in the Korean server, starting a bit more than 24 hours ago. In short, this writer called GGD, I don't know, Smilegate? I don't know what GGD is. I guess maybe the writer? Gave up his career as a web novel writer and joined Smilegate. CZN's developer. He was the main scenario writer for CZN, but due to bullying and workplace politics, he and his scenario were dumped and he left the company. This is not absolutely certain, but there's quite good evidence for this. The details are in the slides here. There are also leaked evidence pointing to what CZN could have been had GGD remained the main scenario writer. Wow. So GGD, this writer that they hit up, was I guess a pretty successful web novel writer, joined them, then got ditched. There are also leaked evidence pointing to what CZN could have been. Yeah, I already read that. In my personal opinion, it is much better than what we got now. The Korean scenario or community went absolutely nuts upon learning this. The NTR meme was half a joke, and those who didn't think much of it remained. But upon learning this, the Korean Chaos Zero Nightmare community is getting wiped out. Ooh, that does not sound very good, guys. All right, let's take a look. Just a small fraction of all the refunds happening. Yo, it's almost like they bought 2 refund. I wonder if that was the case. Wow. So this is all the refunds. There are a lot of wands here. 119,000 wands. What is that? $83. Okay, that's crazy. That is EOS territory right there. Like, handling refunds is very expensive. It's not as simple as like giving money back. I don't know exactly how complicated it is, but if it's anything like PayPal refunds, whoever is like the receiver of this money is gonna have to pay through the nose. Okay, hold up. I need to sit up straight for this. Gamgi Doryang, or GGD, is the author of a once popular serial web novel, Reborn as Cthulhu. It does look like it could be very Chaos Zero Nightmare, because it is like Chaos Zero Nightmare has that kind of Lovecraftian horror element going. So that makes that kind of lines up, right? That looks kind of sick. His weekly publication stopped around December 2022. The hiatus continues for 1.5 years, which is a death sentence for serial web novel writers who frequently post weekly, if not multiple times a week. He then hastily finishes up the novel within 2 months, ending it in November 2024. Yikes. Why is this important? What does this have to do with CZN? Post by GGD. Translation. There's been multiple things going on. First of all, I finally got permission to continue serialization of Reborn as Cthulhu, but I do not have much time to write due to work. You may be wondering what kind of work keeps me so busy, and perhaps I may be able to reveal it to you. Not now, but perhaps later this year. There also has been a few unfortunate events. Well, it's better I don't talk about this. This is a sensitive matter to speak out in public, so for now, I will just mention it briefly and delete this post. I don't know what type of, like, publication this is, but it looks like a personal, like, maybe like a YouTube post, and I guess he deletes it soon after. Kinda does remind me of you, Narukami. Yep. This post is from Blind, which is an anonymous SNS in Korea. Okay, so like, I guess 4chan, but with your phone. But in order to sign up, you must be a confirmed employee of a specific company. Oh, never mind. This post is confirmed to be written by an employee from Smilegate, CZN's developer. Oh, wow. Translation. Why CCN's scenario became so crappy. CCN, previous narrative lead, NL, who now left the company, used to be the previous narrative lead for Epic 7, another game by Smilegate. The NL was initially hired due to having connections with the CEO, but always had conflicts with other employees. For a few years, the CEO somehow held the team together, but NL eventually messed up big, and CEO directed the narrative lead to just write solo. Since the lead no longer directly worked with Epic, Epic's scenario team had no leader, so the producer took charge of the scenario instead. But this caused the Epic scenario team to have conflicts versus the producer. Eventually, everyone from the Epic scenario team, except one person, asked to be moved to the CZN team. Everyone from the Epic scenario team, except one, asked to be moved to Chaos Zero Nightmare. Wow. Meanwhile, the lead has another conflict with someone from Epic and decides to just stop writing for Epic. So the CEO persuades the lead and other writers to just finish the current scenario and promises that he will transfer them to Chaos Zero Nightmare if they do so. The CEO then takes down the story written by the previous main scenario writer of Chaos Zero Nightmare, presumed to be GGD, who used to be a professional web novel writer in the genre, and puts the writers from Epic to renew the story. Oh, wow. Okay. Of course, GGD resists, and a fight breaks out between GGD and the new narrative lead. Since CEO had connections with narrative lead and already made a promise, they take the side of the narrative lead. The CEO was going to make GGD work on character design, but GGD leaves Smilegate to a different anime-style game company as a scenario writer, later presumed to be Blue Archive by Nexon. Yo, I ain't gonna lie, if the writer transferred to Blue Archive and that story is written by him, I don't know if we missed out by that much. I ain't gonna lie. But the writers who came from Epic renew the scenario, but internal reviews are all negative. Okay, wow. The CEO pushes the writers to improve the scenarios, but they give up and resign. The CEO then becomes anxious and just hires random scenario writers, and CZN's scenario becomes crap. Lol. Okay, resign? I don't think so. He didn't give up his position. but I guess he gave up on pushing the writers to improve the scenarios. TLDR, the CEO dumped GGD and the scenario he was working on to make space for other writers who have been working for him longer. Right. Interesting. That is a very sad and crappy situation, especially for Epic. Why exactly did they no longer want to work on Epic? Maybe just not enough money in it? Especially sucks for GGD. I mean, he got shafted. Have you even read Blue Archive's story? Blue Archive? I don't know. Blue Archive might be fine. Story-wise, I'm not like the biggest fan of the character designs, obviously. The writers were the one that resigned. Oh, but they give up and resign. I see. The writers resigned. I see. Okay. And now he's just scrambling and just throwing a bunch of random scenario writers. I see. So he went to go write for Blue Archive? Yeah. Later presumed to be Blue Archive by Nexon. Sorry, this game is also by Nexon. I'm pretty sure, right? Or at least published. More evidence that GGD was bullied in Smilegate. I got a story about CCN's scenario writer. A pretty good web novel writer in the Cthulhu genre was hired as a scenario writer for CCN, but another writer there, a scenario writer there, became jealous of him and bullied him with office politics. So that scenario writer who wrote good Cthulhu stories quit the project and ran away. And that bully scenario writer, the bully, could not wrap up the scenario and also ran away. So the new writers who came in just tried their best to wrap up the scenario, but the quality is crap, and the word going around is that they're just gonna give up on the scenario. Comment, lol, I know that Cthulhu writer. You talk about that writer who wrote shitty scenarios and was always behind schedule for 1 year, so the CEO dumped him, right? Presumed to be one of the bullies commenting online. This is crazy. This is so crazy. I love it. The drama is insane. It's so petty. It's so, like, silly. Now I'm kind of feeling justified in, like, skipping the story for CZN. I was like, after a certain point, I was like, I need to catch up on the gameplay. So I started skipping the story. I did like it in the beginning. Maybe some of it was able to be salvaged for the beginning part. Especially the prologue. It was really good. But, yeah, eventually, yeah. It's literally KR drama. It's insane. Okay, so the writer is being bullied out. We even got, like, possibly an anti or some the internal bully themselves commenting on these situations. More evidence that CCN's main writer was in fact GGD. We got Blue. I think doesn't this look like Blue Archive a little bit? 2020 to 2025 drawing comparison 5 years ago and now. What a coincidence that I drew for the same writer now and 5 years ago. Illustration for Reborn as Cthulhu and illustration for Ichika, character from Blue Archive. They don't look that similar. I guess it's the same illustrator for both. Interesting. Combining all the evidence. GGD, author of Reborn as Cthulhu, had to stop writing his serial web novel due to new work and not having permission to have a side hustle. Smilegate CEO hired a certain web novel writer with experience in the Cthulhu genre as CZN's main scenario writer, but due to workplace bullying, this person had his work dumped and taken over by other writers who had connections with the CEO. This person then moved to a different anime style game company. This person posted a tweet, confirmed that GGD is working as a writer for Blue Archive. Oh, okay. Therefore, GGD equals previous CZN main scenario writer. Because of the movement between the companies, it's pretty much practically confirmed. GGD ruined his career as a web novel writer while working as a writer for CZN, but then had his story dumped and was bullied out of the company. It's kind of sad to say he ruined his own career. I mean, honestly, he was kind of like shafted, right? He was approached with a nice, well-paying job, I would imagine. Probably promised steady work pay, right? But then just got all this shit kind of put on him and he had to run away. Is it definitive proof? No, not until we hear anything from GGD. But GGD is silent on this matter right now, not refuting anything. And if this is all a coincidence, it is one damn hell of a coincidence. Yeah. No, I'm probably sure he has like NDAs he can't breach or anything like that. This makes a lot of sense for sure. Official PV from CCN published on April, right? 21st, 2024. You can still watch this on YouTube. Translation of some parts. 15th rescue operation failed. No matter how many times we repeat, the singularity does not disappear. Then there must be no meaning to any of this until the 16th rescue operation, 12 minutes and 30 seconds. Some, like, I guess, time singularity, right? Some time travel. That would be kind of cool, for sure. Seems like, I don't know, maybe a hopeless adventure. But I feel like there's not a lot to go off of with just this. Let's see. Selectable first. They are named first because they're the ones that lead the crew to move on from 0, despair, to 1, hope, which they do so by going through infinite loops of nightmare that only the first remember. Hence the name Chaos Zero Nightmare. Oh, interesting. It kind of reminds me of this one card game I used to play. One anime card game. Do you guys know what I'm talking about? Not Tribe 9. Chrono Art. This one's kind of like Slay the Spire. You do have like a deck and cards that you draw. These are the cards, right? That represent their attacks. And this is kind of similar in the story in that, like, I don't know if it's the player that retains the memories, but they are kind of like looping. Very interesting. So Chaos Zero Nightmare is about looping this nightmare. The skills for first. Return the last card used to its unused state. Repeat this battle. Enter a different area that is not connected to your location. Reroll the dice. I think this is actually pretty similar to what the game has. Why are these skills available, but there is no lore explanation for them? There's not even a tutorial. Some of you might not even know about these skills. True. There is no tutorial for these skills. That is true. Well, would make perfect sense if the first had the ability to loop back into time. But they did not even bother to make a tutorial introducing these abilities because they do not want to acknowledge the erase scenario. Search Chaos Zero Nightmare sneak peek on YouTube. It has all the unused assets that point to a very different scenario. Interesting. Oh. Had GGD remained the scenario writer for CZN, we would have gotten a cosmic horror time loop RPG where the first goes through time loops, witnessing all of his crew die and probably, you know, the mind break shit, right? Horribly again and again, but loops back no matter how many times it takes to save them all and achieve a good end. The crew are all oblivious to this fact, except maybe Renoa, who would be the only one to understand the first suffering. Instead, we have what we have, which is fairly generic, kind of like a space travel sort of RPG, right? Going from planet to planet. There's like some politics with the Holy Crusaders, right? But definitely this one seems a little more on theme. This one seems pretty cool and very closely tied to the art style and everything about it, I think. TLDR, it's ReZero in a different setting, pretty much. Honestly, I'm loving the story, and who knows if they'll add some of this in the future story too. Yeah, I don't think the story is too bad. Like, I skimmed it, and I'll probably go back to read it. I don't think it's that bad. There's like some politics with the Holy Crusaders. There's like some sacrifice going on with Judas, right? There's some plot with Lewis. It's not like this type of nightmare loop, which is like pretty cool for sure. And I think it definitely fits more with the art style, with the theme of CCN. But I don't think it's like totally shot that we have like a horrible scenario. Moving forward, what CCN would have been had GGD remained the scenario writer. Okay, so we have this article. The game hinted at being a time loop genre where you go back in time to change the ending. This is from a gaming news article introducing CZN. Official Smilegate's introduction in April of 2024. No matter how many times you repeat, the singularity never disappears. From 0 to 1, regardless of how many times we repeat the nightmare. Cosmic Loop RPG, where hope and despair intertwine. Chaos Zero Nightmare coming soon in 2024. No matter your opinion on whether this story currently is good, whether that's like, or this story is good, right, or better, what is very clear is that I'm pretty sure we don't get any of this. We don't get repeated nightmares. We don't talk about this 0 to 1. We don't try and go back in time to save people. There's none of that, right? It does seem like the writer, the teaser text, right, that we have for the story have all seemed to be abandoned or just never touched on at all, right? And this is like pretty deep into the story. Usually you want to have like a very good idea of how the story is within the pilot episode, right? Within like the prologue or at least the first chapter. There's none of that. And it does seem like there's a lot of elements of truth to this, in that the original scenario writer has been completely shafted. It does kind of make you wonder though, because these texts, the promotional text is from April 2024. Maybe they just don't care, right? Because it seems like the move was made somewhere in 2022, wasn't it? Or unless it was just picked up recently for Blue Archive. I don't know. Any Blue Archive players? How has the story been recently? Are we getting into like some cosmic horror sort of Cthulhu Lovecraftian shit? Let me know in the comments, because that would be interesting. That would be very, very interesting to know because I haven't played that game. I haven't played the story. I'm definitely not catching up on the story. Probably those death scenes you get if you play on Nightmare mode probably would have been in the story. Yeah, maybe. We probably would have had a better story. Well, it definitely would have been a lot edgier. It definitely would have been a lot edgier. Personally, I'm okay with the story as is, but at the same time, I have skipped it. I have skipped a lot of chapter 3 and 4. So, you know, it could have been better, perhaps. I like the gameplay a lot, but this is a very amusing story. It sucks for GGD, okay? It does suck for GGD, absolutely. The evidence seems to be there too. It's very fun, and hopefully, I mean, it seems like he's doing all right. It looks like he's writing for Blue Archive or whatever. But yeah, very, very interesting story. The story isn't bad at all. KR got mad about a single character that blew that up to everything sucks. I do think they are hating on Owen, and they are hating on the company, and Owen was kind of like the mascot for this. I have no idea how this is developed into like them pitying Owen. That's very interesting. Anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I think this is very amusing personally. I think it's fine. I would like to like maybe catch up on lore videos for CZN and hopefully see the game kind of flourish and become better story-wise as it goes on. I'm still really loving the game gameplay-wise. Let me know if this affects anything for you. No matter your feelings on this, I think what we can all agree on, this is a very interesting, crazy, drama-filled story from the Chaos Zero Nightmare. And hopefully, you know, as someone who really likes the game, you know, we can maybe see a reprisal, revival, or just them being able to continue and improve as time goes on. Hopefully, I don't know. Anyway, let me know what you think. Leave a like and subscribe. I'll see you on the next one. Bye.